Before we get into the story, leave a comment and let us know what city you're watching from. And don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. The pounding bass from the Miami Beach nightclub still echoed in Emma's ears as she stumbled through her apartment door at 3 in the morning. Her best friend Chloe had insisted on throwing the wildest bachelorette party known to mankind, complete with neon shots, a mechanical bull, and enough tequila to sink a yacht. Emma kicked off her painful stilettos and collapsed onto her couch, still wearing the ridiculous maid of dishonor sash Chloe had forced on her. Never again, she groaned, pressing her palms against her temples. The room spun like a carnival ride, and she distinctly remembered dancing on a table at some point. Or was it a bar? The details blurred together like watercolors in rain. She peeled off her sequined dress, leaving it in a sparkly heap on the floor, and stumbled toward her bedroom in just her underwear. Tomorrow she'd deal with the aftermath. Tomorrow she'd be responsible Emma again, the practical wedding planner who kept everyone else's dreams on track, while her own love life resembled a dumpster fire. The cool sheets felt like heaven against her overheated skin. She burrowed into her pillow, mumbling something about never trusting Chloe with party planning again, and within seconds, darkness claimed her. But something was wrong. Her bed felt different, firmer. And why did her pillow smell like expensive cologne instead of her usual lavender fabric softener? Emma's eyes shot open, and she found herself staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. Not her popcorn-textured rental ceiling, but smooth, pristine white with recessed lighting that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "What the hell?" she whispered, sitting up so fast the room tilted dangerously. This wasn't her bedroom. This wasn't even close to her bedroom. She was in a massive space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Miami skyline, the ocean glittering in the distance like scattered diamonds. The bed she sat in could fit 5 people comfortably, covered in sheets that felt like butter against her skin. And she wasn't alone. A muscular arm draped across her waist, attached to a man whose face was buried in a pillow. Dark hair, tanned skin, and shoulders that belonged on a magazine cover. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs as memories from last night tried to surface through the tequila fog. The nightclub, the VIP section, a man with eyes like melted chocolate and a smile that should come with a warning label. "Oh God, oh God, oh God," she chanted under her breath, carefully extracting herself from his embrace. She needed to leave. Now. Before he woke up, and she had to face whatever insanely stupid thing she'd done. She spotted her dress crumpled near the door and tiptoed toward it, praying the stranger wouldn't wake up. Just as her fingers closed, around the sequined fabric, her phone buzzed loudly from somewhere in the room. The man stirred, mumbling something incoherent. Emma froze like a deer in headlights, dress clutched to her chest. Maybe if she stayed perfectly still, he'd fall back asleep. The universe apparently had other plans. He rolled over, revealing a face that made her forget how to breathe. Strong jaw, perfect stubble, and lips that sparked a flash of memory. Those lips on her neck, her collarbone, her... "Good morning," he said, voice rough with sleep. His eyes, those dangerous brown eyes, locked onto hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. Running away already? Emma straightened, trying to muster whatever dignity one could while standing in their underwear in a stranger's bedroom. "I'm not running. I'm leaving. There's a difference." His lips curved into a smile that definitely wasn't fair at this ungodly hour. "Most people at least stay for coffee after marking me." "Marking you?" Emma's voice climbed an octave. "What are you talking about?" He sat up, the sheet falling to his waist, revealing abs that belonged in a fitness commercial. Emma firmly directed her eyes to his face, which wasn't much safer. He pointed to his shoulder, where a perfect set of teeth marks stood out against his tanned skin. Oh my God. Emma's free hand flew to her mouth. I bit you. Quite enthusiastically, he confirmed, seeming far too amused by her mortification. Though to be fair, I reciprocated. Before Emma could process that statement, he pointed to her neck. She rushed to the mirror on the far wall and gasped. There, clear as day on the curve where her neck met her shoulder, was a love bite. Not just any love bite. This was a masterpiece of possession, dark purple and impossible to hide. You marked me? She whirled around, dress forgotten. Who does that? He shrugged, completely unrepentant. You asked me to. I was drunk. So was I. He stood, and Emma discovered that whoever invented low-riding pajama pants deserved a Nobel Prize. But not drunk enough to forget how you dragged me out of VIP, pushed me against a wall, and said— He paused, his grin widening. What was it again? Oh, yes. I need you to make me forget every boring man I've ever dated. Heat flooded Emma's face. That doesn't sound like something I'd say. You also said my eyes looked like chocolate fountains and asked if you could lick them. Stop talking. Emma yanked her dress over her head, not caring that it was backwards. This never happened. Hard to pretend that when we're both marked up like teenagers, he stretched lazily, drawing her attention to those abs again. I'm Dante, by the way. Emma, she replied automatically, then cursed herself for giving him her real name. And this was a mistake. Ouch. Dante pressed a hand to his chest in mock hurt. Here, I thought we had something special. You did propose to me, after all. Emma's blood turned to ice. I did what? Proposed, right there in the middle of the dance floor. Said I looked like the kind of bad decision you wanted to make forever. His eyes danced with amusement. You even got down on one knee. Security has the footage if you want a memento. Please tell me you're joking. About the proposal? Completely serious. Though you used a ring pop from the bar instead of a diamond. He moved closer, and Emma caught that cologne again. Sandalwood, and something uniquely him that made her hormones stand at attention. You were quite disappointed when I pointed out we'd need an actual license. Emma backed toward the door, her heel catching on something. She looked down to see her purse, its contents scattered across the marble floor. As she knelt to gather her belongings, she spotted something that made her stomach drop. A napkin, with writing scrawled across it in her unmistakably messy handwriting. Dante Castellano? Future husband? Followed by a series of hearts. Oh, this just gets better, she muttered, shoving the evidence into her purse. Castellano, Dante supplied helpfully. In case you forgot my last name too. The name tickled something in Emma's memory. Castellano. Where had she heard that before? She looked at him again, really looked. The penthouse apartment, the designer furniture, the casual arrogance of someone used to getting what they wanted. Oh my God! The realization hit her like a freight train. You're Dante Castellano, as in Castellano Industries, as in the billionaire who owns half of Miami Beach. Guilty. He didn't look remotely apologetic. Though last night you seemed more interested in my dance moves than my portfolio. Emma wanted to die. She wanted the marble floor to open up and swallow her whole. She'd propositioned a billionaire, bitten a billionaire, left her mark on one of the most eligible bachelors in Florida like he was a chew toy. I have to go. She clutched her purse like a lifeline. Please forget this ever happened. I'll pay for the therapy if you need it. Therapy? Dante laughed, a rich sound that did inappropriate things to her insides. Sweetheart, last night was the most fun I've had in years. Why would I want to forget it? Because I'm nobody, Emma blurted out. I plan other people's weddings for a living. I drive a beat-up Honda. I buy my dresses from outlet malls. I'm not the kind of woman who ends up in penthouses with billionaires. Something shifted in Dante's expression, the teasing glint replaced by genuine interest. You plan weddings? Yes, badly, apparently, since I can't even keep my own life together. The woman who gave me the most creative proposal I've ever received plans weddings? He looked delighted by this information. That's either ironic or perfect. I haven't decided which. Emma edged toward the door. Well, while you're deciding, I'll be leaving. Thanks for the whatever this was. Let's never speak of it again. She grabbed the door handle, relief flooding through her. Almost free. Almost able to pretend this was just a tequila-induced nightmare. Emma. Something in his voice made her pause. She turned to find him holding up his phone, a contact screen displayed. You put your number in my phone, he said, under future wife, with about 17 heart emojis. Kill her now. Just strike her down with lightning and end the humiliation. Delete it, she said weakly. Counteroffer. He moved closer, and Emma found herself mesmerized by the way he walked, all predatory grace and confidence. Have dinner with me. Are you insane? Possibly. You did bite me pretty hard. He stopped just close enough that she could feel his body heat. One dinner, somewhere public, clothes required. What's the worst that could happen? I could propose again? I'll hide the ring pops. His smile turned softer, less practiced. Look, Emma, I meet a lot of women who see dollar signs when they look at me. Last night, you didn't even know who I was, and you still chose me. Drunk, you has excellent taste. Drunk me also thought it was a good idea to ride a mechanical bull in a dress. Which was spectacular, by the way, Emma groaned. You saw that? Front row seat, you lasted 12 seconds. Fantastic. She needed to leave before she died of embarrassment. Thanks for the recap of my humiliation. Have dinner with me, he repeated. Let me show you I'm more than just a bad decision with good abs. Emma knew she should say no. Every rational cell in her brain screamed that this would end badly. Billionaires didn't date wedding planners. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a hangover-induced delusion. But the mark on her neck throbbed with heat, and she could still taste him on her lips. And maybe, just maybe, sober Emma needed to be a little more like drunk Emma. This is a terrible idea, Emma said, her hand still on the door handle. We have nothing in common. You probably eat caviar for breakfast while I consider cereal a food group. Actually, I'm more of a bacon and eggs guy, Dante countered. See? We're already finding common ground. You live in a penthouse. I live in a studio apartment with a radiator that sounds like it's summoning demons. Character building. He leaned against the wall, crossing his arms in a way that did wonderful things to his biceps. Not that Emma was noticing. What else? You probably date supermodels and socialites. I once went out with a guy who collected vintage pizza boxes. That's oddly specific and mildly concerning. Dante's lips twitched. Though I dated someone who insisted on bringing their taxidermied parrot to restaurants. So really, we've both suffered. Emma couldn't help but laugh. A taxidermied parrot? Mr. Whistles had his own seat at the table and everything. He shuddered, dramatically. The relationship didn't survive the third date. I can't imagine why. She was smiling now, despite herself. Did Mr. Whistles at least have good table manners? Better than his owner, honestly. Dante pushed off the wall, moving closer. So, dinner? The sensible part of Emma's brain, the part that balanced budgets and created wedding timelines and remembered to pay bills on time, screamed at her to run. But another part, a part that had been dormant for too long, whispered that maybe one dinner wouldn't hurt. Fine, she heard herself say. One dinner, but somewhere normal. No restaurants where they serve foam instead of food, or where the waiters judge you for using the wrong fork. Deal. His smile lit up his whole face, and Emma's traitorous heart skipped a beat. How about tomorrow night? 8 o'clock? I have a wedding consultation until 7. Perfect. I'll pick you up at 8:30. He grabbed his phone from the nightstand. What's your address? Emma rattled off her address, then immediately regretted it. If you show up in a limo, I'm not coming out. Noted. No limo. He typed something into his phone. Regular car. Maybe I'll even drive myself. You can drive? I assumed you had people for that. I have many hidden talents. His eyes dropped to the bite mark on his shoulder. As you discovered last night. Heat flooded Emma's cheeks. We're not talking about last night. Last night was Tequila's fault. Completely Tequila's fault, he agreed solemnly. The tequila is also responsible for the text you sent me at 2 a.m. What text? Emma fumbled for her phone, scrolling through her messages with growing horror. There it was, sent to a contact labeled Hot Chocolate Eyes. Your butt should be illegal in all 50 states. I'm framing that one, Dante said cheerfully. Maybe I'll put it in my office. You wouldn't. Try me. Emma shoved her phone into her purse, mortification complete. I'm leaving now, and when I die of embarrassment, I'm haunting you. I'll leave out tequila for your ghost. He followed her to the door, still shirtless and entirely too comfortable with the situation. Emma. She paused at the threshold. What? Wear your hair up tomorrow. His fingers ghosted over the mark on her neck, sending shivers down her spine. I like seeing my handiwork. In your dreams, Castellano. But her voice came out breathier than intended, and they both knew she was affected. Oh, you'll definitely be in my dreams. He leaned against the doorframe, all casual arrogance and dangerous charm. Especially the biting part. Emma fled before she could do something stupid like kiss him again. She made it to the elevator, jabbing the button repeatedly, as if that would make it arrive faster. Through the closing doors, she caught one last glimpse of Dante, still watching her with that infuriating smile. The elevator ride down from the penthouse gave her too much time to think. What had she done? What was she doing? She didn't date billionaires. She dated accountants named Brad, who thought taking her to Olive Garden was fancy. She dated guys who wore socks with sandals and thought fantasy football was a personality trait. She definitely didn't date men who looked like they'd stepped out of a cologne ad and lived in penthouses that probably cost more than she'd make in 10 lifetimes. The lobby of his building was all marble and modern art, with a concierge who gave her a knowing look as she scurried past in her backwards dress and sex hair. Great. She was officially that girl. The walk of shame girl stumbling out of the rich guy's apartment on a Saturday morning. Outside, the Miami sun assaulted her retinas, making her hangover headache pulse with renewed vigor. She fumbled for her sunglasses, squinting at her phone to order an Uber. 15 minutes until pickup. 15 minutes to stand on this pristine sidewalk, looking like last night's bad decisions, while morning joggers gave her judgmental looks. Her phone buzzed. A text from the contact she'd apparently renamed Sex God Dante at some point during her tequila adventure. You left your earring. I'll bring it tomorrow. Emma touched her ears, discovering she was indeed missing one of her favorite hoops. Of course she was, because this morning wasn't humiliating enough without having to see him again to retrieve her jewelry. Another text popped up. For what it's worth, you're the most interesting thing to happen to my bed in years. That's because you date women who bring taxidermied parrots to dinner, she typed back before she could stop herself. Fair point. Though you did propose with a ring pop, so who's really winning here? Despite everything, Emma smiled. Her Uber pulled up, and she dove into the back seat like it was a getaway car. Rough night? The driver asked, eyeing her through the rearview mirror. Something like that. Emma slumped against the seat, closing her eyes. Been there, honey. We've all been there. The drive to her apartment gave her 20 minutes to spiral into anxiety. She'd agreed to dinner with Dante Castellano, actual billionaire Dante Castellano, who apparently owned half of Miami's waterfront and probably had his own Wikipedia page. What would they even talk about? She didn't speak rich people. She didn't know anything about stock portfolios or yacht maintenance or whatever billionaires discussed over their gold-flaked dinners. Her phone rang just as the Uber pulled up to her building. Chloe's name flashed on the screen, accompanied by a photo of her making duck lips at the camera. "You're alive!" Chloe shrieked before Emma could even say hello. I was starting to worry. You disappeared from the club last night with that walking sin in Armani. Please tell me you did dirty, dirty things to him. I bit him, Emma admitted, climbing the stairs to her third-floor apartment, and apparently proposed to him with a ring pop. That's my girl. Chloe's delighted laughter made Emma hold the phone away from her ear. Was he worth it? Please say yes. That man looked like he could ruin you in the best way. He's Dante Castellano. Emma fumbled with her keys, shouldering open her apartment door. As in billionaire Dante Castellano. The line went silent for so long, Emma checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. You're joking, Chloe finally said. You have to be joking. I wish I was. Emma kicked off her heels and collapsed face first onto her bed. I woke up in his penthouse with a hickey the size of Texas and no memory of how I got there. Emma Elizabeth Martinez, you absolute legend. Chloe's voice pitched higher with excitement. You banged Miami's most eligible bachelor? The same Dante Castellano who was on the cover of Forbes last month? We have a date tomorrow night, Emma mumbled into her pillow. What? The shriek probably shattered windows 3 states over. He asked you out? After drunk you? Apparently, drunk me made quite an impression. Emma rolled over, staring at her water-stained ceiling. What am I supposed to do? I can't date a billionaire. I don't even own a dress that doesn't have a clearance tag. First of all, we're going shopping immediately. Second, you're going on this date, because hot billionaires don't just fall into your lap every day. Well, apparently they fall into yours. But you know what I mean. Chloe. No backing out. You always play it safe, MM. You date boring guys who think missionary with the lights off is adventurous. For once in your life, you did something wild, and the universe rewarded you with a man who looks like he was carved by horny angels. That's oddly specific. I'm oddly specific when I'm right. Chloe's tone turned serious. Look, I know you're scared, but maybe drunk, you knew something sober you doesn't. Maybe she knew you needed someone who'd shake up your perfectly planned little world. Emma touched the mark on her neck, remembering the heat of Dante's mouth, the way he'd looked at her like she was something extraordinary, instead of just another drunk girl in a club. What if I embarrass myself? Then you'll have a great story. But what if you don't? What if this is the start of something amazing? Since when are you the optimist? Since my best friend finally did something spontaneous and ended up with a billionaire's teeth marks on her neck, Chloe paused. Please tell me you took pictures. I'm hanging up now. Shopping tomorrow at noon. Don't even think about backing out. Emma ended the call and dragged herself to the bathroom. The mirror revealed the full extent of her walk of shame glory. Smeared makeup, tangled hair, and that damned hickey that no amount of concealer would hide. She looked like she'd been mauled by a very expensive vampire. Her phone buzzed with another text from Dante. Forgot to mention, I like Italian food. There's this little place in Wynwood that makes the best carbonara outside of Rome. How do you know I like Italian? She typed back. You told me. Right after you told me my eyes looked like sexy chocolate pudding. Emma groaned. Drunker had no filter and apparently no shame. Please forget everything I said last night. Not a chance. I'm keeping a running list. Current favorite. Your face is so symmetrical it's stupid. I hate you. You definitely didn't hate me last night. In fact, I have the bite marks to prove just how much you didn't hate me. Emma threw her phone onto the bed before she could type something else embarrassing. She needed a shower, and coffee, and possibly a time machine to go back and stop herself from drinking that fourth shot of tequila. Under the hot spray of her ancient showerhead, she tried to piece together fragments of the night. The club. Chloe forcing shots on everyone. A VIP section with velvet ropes. Dark eyes meeting hers across the dance floor. The way he'd moved against her, all controlled power and barely restrained heat. Her hands in his hair, his mouth on her throat. The desperate need that had consumed her. No wonder she'd bitten him. The man probably inspired primal urges in nuns. By the time she emerged from the bathroom, her phone had accumulated several more messages. 3 from Chloe with links to dresses, 1 from her mother asking why she hadn't called this week, and 2 more from Dante. My shoulder is already bruising. I'll have to explain to my board of directors why I look like I was attacked by a small but enthusiastic shark. Worth it, though. Best proposal I've ever received. The ring pop really sold it. Emma found herself smiling despite her determination to be mortified. She typed back, "Tell them you were attacked by a wedding planner. Very dangerous creatures when provoked." What provokes a wedding planner? Bad centerpieces, Comic Sans on invitations, grooms who think navy and black are the same color. Note to self, avoid all of these things if I want to keep my other shoulder intact. Your shoulders are safe. I don't bite on second dates. She hit send before realizing what she'd implied, that there would be a second date, that she was already thinking beyond tomorrow night. Good to know, came his immediate response, though I make no promises about my own teeth. Heat pooled low in her belly at the memory of his mouth on her skin. This was dangerous. He was dangerous. Everything about this situation screamed disaster in flashing neon letters. But maybe Chloe was right. Maybe it was time to stop playing it safe. Emma spent the rest of Saturday recovering from her hangover and trying not to obsess over every text exchange with Dante. He had a surprising sense of humor for a billionaire, sending her memes about hangovers and a photo of his bruised shoulder with the caption, "I'm telling everyone I fought a tiny bear." Sunday arrived with Chloe pounding on her door at 11:45, armed with coffee and determination. "We have exactly 6 hours to transform you from hungover disaster to billionaire dating goddess," she announced, pushing past Emma into the apartment. "I've mapped out every store in a 5-mile radius that carries dresses suitable for dates with men who own yachts." He hasn't mentioned owning a yacht. "Please, he's a billionaire in Miami. He definitely owns a yacht." Chloe dumped her purse on Emma's couch and handed her the coffee. "Drink. We have work to do." What followed was a whirlwind tour of Miami's shopping centers, with Chloe vetoing everything Emma naturally gravitated toward. "No," she said, yanking a sensible black dress from Emma's hands. "You're not going to a funeral. It's classic. It's boring. You need something that says, 'I'm sophisticated, but also I might bite you again if properly motivated.' That's a very specific message. You're a very specific kind of date." Chloe held up a red dress that looked like it was held together by prayers and dental floss. "Try this. I can't wear that. I'll need double-sided tape just to keep my boobs from escaping." Exactly. 3 hours and approximately 17,000 dresses later, they found it. A deep blue wrap dress that hugged Emma's curves without looking like she was trying too hard. It was sophisticated enough for whatever restaurant Dante had in mind, but still had a hint of danger in the way it revealed her legs when she walked. "Perfect," Chloe declared. "He won't know what hit him." The price tag might hit my credit card pretty hard, Emma muttered, but she bought it anyway, along with new shoes that Chloe insisted were sex on stilettos and lingerie that made Emma blush just looking at it. I'm not planning on him seeing my underwear, Emma protested as Chloe threw a lacy black set into their pile. First of all, you already slept with him, so that ship has sailed. Second, it's not about him seeing it. It's about you knowing you're wearing it. Confidence, Em. Sexy underwear equals sexy confidence. By the time they made it back to Emma's apartment, she was exhausted, overwhelmed, and starting to panic about the evening ahead. What if he's boring, she asked, hanging up the new dress like it was made of spun gold. What if without tequila, we have nothing to talk about? Then you'll eat free expensive food and have a story to tell. Chloe flopped onto Emma's bed, scrolling through her phone. Oh my God, Em, have you Googled him? No, should I? Honey. Chloe turned her phone around, revealing image after image of Dante at various events, in a tux at a charity gala, laughing with other impossibly attractive people on a yacht, called it Chloe mouthed, shirtless on a beach in what looked like Greece. The man is worth $2 billion. Emma's stomach dropped. $2 billion? With a B? With a capital B. He owns hotels, restaurants, half the real estate in South Beach. Chloe kept scrolling. Oh, and apparently he's single because he broke up with a Swedish model 6 months ago. She sold their story to a tabloid. Says he was emotionally unavailable and married to his work. Great. So I'm rebounding from a Swedish model. Emma sank onto the bed beside her friend. This is insane. What am I doing? You're going on a date with a hot guy who clearly likes you. Chloe set her phone aside and grabbed Emma's hands. Stop overthinking. He asked you out after drunk, you did God knows what to him. He's clearly interested. But why? He could date anyone. Maybe he's tired of dating anyone. Maybe he wants to date someone who bites him and proposes with candy jewelry. Chloe squeezed her hands. Look, worst case scenario. You get a free meal and a story. Best case? You get to keep biting a billionaire. Emma laughed despite her anxiety. You make it sound so simple. Because it is simple. You like him. He likes you. Everything else is just details. At 6:30, Chloe left with strict instructions for Emma to text her everything. Emma stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the wrap dress for the 100th time. The blue fabric brought out her eyes, and the heels did make her legs look longer. She'd pulled her hair into a loose bun, leaving a few tendrils to frame her face. And yes, to show off the fading mark on her neck. Her phone buzzed at 8:20. Downstairs. No limo, as requested. Though I should warn you, I'm wearing a suit. Hopefully that doesn't violate your normal restaurant requirements. Emma's nerves kicked into overdrive. This was happening. She was actually going on a date with Dante Castellano. She grabbed her purse, took one last look in the mirror, and headed downstairs. He was leaning against a sleek black Audi, and Emma's breath caught. The man should come with a warning label. His dark suit was perfectly tailored, emphasizing broad shoulders and narrow hips. He'd left the top button of his white shirt undone, giving him a casually elegant look that probably took zero effort. Hi, she said brilliantly. His eyes swept over her slowly, appreciatively, lingering on her neck where his mark was still visible. Hi yourself. You look beautiful. You clean up pretty well too. Very unshark-like. He grinned, opening the passenger door for her. I'd save the shark attacks for special occasions. The car smelled like leather and his cologne, and Emma tried not to think about how the last time she'd been surrounded by his scent, she'd been naked in his bed. So, she said as he pulled into traffic. Italian in Wynwood. Unless you'd prefer something else. I know a great sushi place, or there's this Cuban spot that makes mojitos that could rival last night's tequila. Let's avoid anything tequila adjacent for a while. Emma fiddled with her purse strap. Italian sounds perfect. Good, because I already bribed them to hide all the ring pops. Very funny. I thought so. He glanced at her, his expression softening. You nervous? Should I be? No, but you're doing that thing with your purse that you did last night, right before you dragged me onto the dance floor. Emma stilled her hands. You remember that? I remember everything. His voice dropped, sending shivers down her spine. The way you laughed when you missed the mechanical bull's stirrup. The determined look on your face when you decided I was going home with you. The little sound you made when I— Okay, Emma interrupted, her face burning. We agreed not to talk about last night. You agreed. I just nodded and filed it under things to bring up when Emma's trying to act professional. I'm not trying to act anything, she protested. No? He stopped at a red light, turning to face her fully. Then why do you keep touching your neck where I marked you? Emma's hand froze halfway to her throat. She hadn't even realized she was doing it. It's sensitive, she said defensively. I remember. The light turned green, but the heat in his eyes lingered. I remember exactly how sensitive. This was going to be a long dinner. The restaurant turned out to be a tiny place tucked between a vintage clothing store and a bookshop. No valet, no pretentious maitre d', just the warm glow of candles through the window and the scent of garlic and fresh bread. This doesn't look like a billionaire hangout, Emma said as he helped her from the car. That's because it's not. The owner is an old friend from before the billions. He makes pasta that could make you weep. Dante placed his hand on the small of her back, guiding her inside. Plus, he owes me for introducing him to his wife, so we always get the good table. The interior was cozy and intimate, with exposed brick walls and mismatched chairs that somehow worked together perfectly. A gray-haired man with a magnificent mustache greeted them enthusiastically in rapid Italian, pulling Dante into a bear hug before turning his attention to Emma. Bellissima, he exclaimed, kissing both her cheeks before she could react. Dante, where have you been hiding this treasure? Emma, meet Lorenzo. Lorenzo, this is Emma. Be nice, or she might bite you too. Emma's mortification must have shown on her face, because Lorenzo laughed, a booming sound that filled the small space. Ah, a biter. Good, good. This one's too pretty. Someone needs to keep him humble. He led them to a corner table, semi-private and lit by candlelight. As Emma settled into her chair, she noticed Dante watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. What? She asked, once Lorenzo bustled away to get wine. Nothing. You just look beautiful in candlelight. Does that line usually work? I don't know. I've never used it before. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. You bring out new things in me, Emma Martinez. Like bite marks? Among other things. His grin turned wicked. Though if we're keeping score, I believe we're tied on that front. Emma touched her neck automatically, then caught herself. We're not keeping score. Shame. I'm very competitive. Lorenzo returned with a bottle of wine and a basket of bread that smelled like heaven. No menus tonight, he announced. I cook, you eat, everyone's happy. Lorenzo likes to think he knows best, Dante explained, as the owner poured their wine. He's usually right. Always right, Lorenzo corrected, especially about love. I knew the moment you walked in. He winked at Emma before heading back to the kitchen. Sorry about him, Dante said once they were alone. He's incurably romantic. Thinks every dinner here is the start of a great love story. And is it? The wine was already making Emma braver. The start of something? Dante's eyes met hers over the candlelight. I hope so. Despite the unique beginning. Unique is one word for it. Emma took another sip of wine, letting the warmth spread through her. So tell me, what does a billionaire do when he's not getting bitten by drunk wedding planners? The usual. Board meetings, acquisitions, disappointing my mother by not marrying someone suitable. He tore off a piece of bread, his movements casual, but his eyes never leaving hers. What does a wedding planner do when she's not proposing to strangers? Plans weddings, mediates family drama, talks brides out of choosing my humps for their first dance. People actually choose that? You'd be surprised. Last month I had a groom who wanted to enter the reception on a zip line. Did you let him? God, no. Can you imagine the insurance? Emma shuddered. He settled for smoke machines and the Mission Impossible theme. Still dramatic. Weddings are all about controlled drama. My job is to make sure it stays controlled. She paused as Lorenzo appeared with their first course, bruschetta that looked like art. What about you? What made you go from beach bum to business mogul? Bold of you to assume I was ever a beach bum. The surfing skills suggest otherwise. Dante laughed. Caught. I grew up here, spent every free moment on the water. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. My mom wanted me to be a lawyer. I wanted to surf professionally. What changed? Reality. His expression turned thoughtful. Turns out I was better at reading market waves than ocean ones. Started with a small investment in a beach bar, turned it into a chain, kept going from there. And now you own half of Miami. Only the good half. He winked. But enough about my empire. Tell me about drunk Emma's wedding planning skills. Does she have strong opinions about centerpieces? Drunk Emma has strong opinions about everything. Emma found herself relaxing, the wine and easy conversation melting her nervousness. She once told a bride that mason jars were overdone, and she should consider fish bowls instead. Did the bride listen? She did, actually. Had a beach theme. Put betta fish in the centerpieces. Emma grinned at the memory. It was either brilliant or insane. Fine line between the two. Dante raised his glass. To brilliant insanity. Emma clinked her glass against his. To bad decisions that turn out okay. Just okay? Jury's still out. They fell into an easy rhythm, trading stories between courses of increasingly amazing food. Emma learned that Dante spoke 4 languages, had a secret weakness for reality TV, and once got lost in Tokyo for 6 hours because he was too proud to ask for directions. He learned that she'd planned her sister's wedding at 17, had a mild obsession with true crime podcasts, and could make origami cranes out of cocktail napkins, which she demonstrated with their napkins, much to his delight. So, Emma said, as Lorenzo cleared their pasta plates, what's the worst date you've ever been on, besides the taxidermied parrot? Technically, this might qualify. Emma's heart sank. This is going badly? No, he said quickly, reaching across the table to take her hand. But you did bite me, propose to me, and then try to flee the state. As far as first date stories go, it's definitely the most interesting. This isn't our first date, Emma pointed out. Last night was. Last night was Tequila's date. This is ours. His thumb traced circles on her palm, and Emma forgot how to breathe. And for the record, it's going exceptionally well. Emma stared at their joined hands, his tanned fingers intertwined with hers. Such a simple touch, but it sent electricity shooting up her arm. You know this is crazy, right? You and me? Why? Because you're you and I'm me. You fly private jets, I clip coupons. You date models, I date guys who think Olive Garden is fancy. First of all, Olive Garden breadsticks are a gift to humanity. Dante squeezed her hand. Second, you keep bringing up what you think are obstacles, but all I hear are reasons why you're refreshing. Do you know how boring it is to date someone who's never been grocery shopping? Who thinks manual labor is pressing the elevator button? So I'm your poverty tourism? His eyes flashed. No. You're the first real person I've met in years. You looked at me last night, really looked at me, and saw something worth biting. Not my bank account, not my connections, just me. To be fair, drunk me has questionable judgment. Drunk you has excellent taste. He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Sober you, however, keeps trying to talk herself out of something good. Emma's breath hitched. This feels too fast. Says the woman who proposed on the first date. That doesn't count. Everything counts. His expression turned serious. Look, Emma, I know this is unconventional. I know we're from different worlds. But last night, before you knew who I was, you chose me. And this morning, even after you knew, some part of you still wanted to see where this goes. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. He was right, and they both knew it. Emma could have ignored his texts, refused the date, gotten her earring back via courier. Instead, she was sitting in a candlelit restaurant, wearing her sexiest dress, letting him trace patterns on her hand, like they'd been doing this for years. I don't know how to date a billionaire, she admitted. Good thing you're not dating a billionaire. You're dating me, Dante, who happens to have money but also burns eggs and can't figure out how to fold fitted sheets. Nobody can fold fitted sheets. They're designed by the devil. See? Common ground. He smiled, and Emma felt her defenses crumbling. Stop overthinking. Just be here with me. Eat Lorenzo's tiramisu. Let me drive you home. Maybe bite me again if the mood strikes. I'm not biting you in public. Shame. Lorenzo would probably give us free dessert. As if summoned, Lorenzo appeared with 2 plates of tiramisu that looked like clouds dusted with cocoa. For the lovers, he announced with a wink. We're not, Emma started. Thank you, Lorenzo, Dante interrupted smoothly. It looks perfect. Lorenzo beamed and bustled away, but not before giving them both a knowing look that made Emma blush. He's going to plan our wedding, isn't he? She said, taking a bite of the dessert. The flavors exploded on her tongue. Coffee, cream, and just a hint of rum. Probably. He's been trying to marry me off for years. Dante watched her enjoy the tiramisu with an intensity that made her self-conscious. You have cream on your lip. Emma reached for her napkin, but he stopped her. Let me. He leaned across the small table, his thumb gently brushing the corner of her mouth. The touch was innocent enough, but the heat in his eyes was anything but. Emma's breathing went shallow as his thumb lingered, tracing the curve of her bottom lip. There, he said softly, his voice rough. All clean. Emma couldn't form words. Every nerve ending in her body was focused on where he'd touched her, remembering other places those fingers had been. The mark on her neck throbbed in response. We should go, she managed. Already? But Lorenzo will be heartbroken if we don't have coffee. I don't think I can handle coffee right now. She was having enough trouble with the way he was looking at her, like he wanted to devour her right there in the restaurant. Fair enough. He signaled for the check, which Lorenzo refused to bring, insisting it was a gift for young love. They argued briefly in Italian before Dante, apparently won, slipping bills into Lorenzo's apron pocket despite his protests. Outside, the Miami night was warm and humid, carrying the scent of night-blooming jasmine from a nearby garden. Emma expected Dante to lead her to the car, but instead he caught her hand. Walk with me for a bit. There's a park around the corner. She knew she should say no. Should go home, put some distance between them, figure out what she was doing. Instead, she found herself nodding. The park was small but charming, with winding paths lit by old-fashioned street lamps. They walked in comfortable silence, hands linked, like any normal couple out for an evening stroll. Except, they weren't normal. They weren't even really a couple. They were two people who'd made questionable decisions under the influence of tequila and were now trying to make sense of the aftermath. "What are you thinking?" Dante asked, as they paused by a small fountain. "That this is surreal. 24 hours ago, I didn't even know you existed. Now I'm walking through a park, holding your hand like we've been together for years. Time is relative." He tugged her closer until she was standing between his legs as he perched on the fountain's edge. "Some people date for months and never connect. Others meet and know instantly. Which are we? You tell me." His hand settled on her waist, thumbs brushing the silk of her dress. What did drunk Emma see that made her so sure? Emma looked at him, really looked at him. Past the expensive suit and perfect hair to the man underneath. The one who'd laughed at her terrible jokes, who'd shared stories about getting lost in Tokyo, who looked at her like she was something precious instead of just another conquest. She saw someone who needed to be bitten, Emma said finally, making him laugh. And sober Emma? What does she see? Someone dangerous. She stepped closer, drawn by a force she couldn't name. Someone who could make me forget all my carefully laid plans. Would that be so bad? His voice dropped to that low register that made her insides melt. Plans are overrated, says the billionaire CEO. Says the man who threw out his 5-year plan the moment a beautiful woman proposed to him with candy jewelry. His hands tightened on her waist. "I haven't stopped thinking about you, Emma, about the way you laughed, the way you moved, the way you tasted. Dante, tell me you haven't thought about it too." He pulled her closer until she was pressed against him, his face level with hers. "Tell me you don't remember." She couldn't, because she did remember. Flashes of skin against skin, his mouth on her throat, her nails digging into his shoulders, the desperate need that had consumed them both. "I remember," she whispered. "Good." He cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Because I want to kiss you again. But this time, I want you to remember all of it." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "Here? In public? Would you prefer my penthouse?" His smile was sin incarnate. "I can call the car." She should say no. Should insist he take her home. Should put the brakes on whatever this was before it spiraled completely out of control. Instead, she leaned down and kissed him. It was different from last night. Slower, deeper, with none of the frantic urgency of tequila-fueled desire. This was deliberate, a choice made in perfect sobriety. His lips were soft but insistent, coaxing her mouth open so he could taste her properly. Emma's hands found his hair, messing up the perfect style as she angled his head for better access. He groaned against her mouth, the sound sending heat straight through her. His hand slid up her back, pulling her impossibly closer as he took control of the kiss, showing her exactly what that talented mouth could do when he was focused. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma's lipstick was completely gone, and Dante's hair looked like he'd been through a windstorm. "My place or yours?" he asked roughly. Reality crashed back in. "I can't. Can't or won't. Both. Neither." Emma stepped back, needing distance to think clearly. "This is moving too fast. You proposed on the first date. We left fast behind a while ago. Which is exactly why we need to slow down." She ran a hand through her hair, probably making it worse. "I like you, Dante, more than I should. But I can't just jump into bed with you again because you kiss like that." "Like what?" "Like you're trying to ruin me for other men." His grin was pure male satisfaction. "Good. Not good. Dangerous." Emma fumbled for her purse, needing something to do with her hands before she reached for him again. "I should go home, if that's what you want." He stood, somehow making the simple movement look like art. "But Emma, this isn't over." "I know," she said softly. Because it wasn't. Whatever had started last night wasn't going away just because she wanted to be sensible. The drive to her apartment was quiet, charged with unspoken tension. Dante kept one hand on the wheel and the other on the gear shift, close enough that Emma could have touched him, but far enough to respect her need for space. When he pulled up outside her building, Emma expected him to try to convince her to change her mind. Instead, he turned to her with a soft smile. "Thank you for tonight." For what? Being neurotic about everything? For giving this a chance? He reached over, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Can I see you again?" "You still have my earring." "I meant besides the hostage jewelry exchange." Emma bit her lip, tasting him there still. "I have a wedding on Saturday. The Patel Morrison reception at the Biltmore." And I might need a +1 if you're interested in seeing what I do when I'm not biting strangers. His face lit up. "Are you asking me to be your date?" "Maybe, if you can handle bride drama and questionable DJ choices. I'll handle anything if it means seeing you again." He leaned over, pressing a soft kiss to her cheek. "Good night, Emma." She climbed out of the car on unsteady legs, very aware he was watching her walk to the door. Once safely inside her building, she leaned against the wall and touched her lips, still feeling the burn of his kiss. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "Already missing those teeth." Emma laughed, typing back, "Your shoulder will appreciate the break." "My shoulder can handle it. Saturday can't come fast enough." Emma climbed the stairs to her apartment, feeling like she was floating. The evening had been nothing like she'd expected. Better in some ways, scarier in others. Dante wasn't what she'd assumed a billionaire would be. He was funny and self-deprecating, intense, but playful. He made her laugh, and then made her breath catch with just a look. Her phone rang as she unlocked her door. Chloe. "Tell me everything," her best friend demanded without preamble. "Start with his car and end with whether you bit him again." "I didn't bite him," Emma said, kicking off her heels with a sigh of relief. "But I did kiss him in a public park like a teenager." Progress. And I invited him to the Patel Morrison wedding as my +1. Chloe's squeal nearly shattered Emma's eardrum. "You're bringing a billionaire to work. Emma Elizabeth Martinez, I'm so proud I could cry. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal. You're introducing him to your professional world. That's huge." Chloe's voice turned sly. "So why didn't you sleep with him again?" "Because I'm trying to be responsible." "Responsible is overrated. When's the last time responsible got you a billionaire?" Emma collapsed on her bed, still in her dress. "That's exactly why I need to be careful. This feels too much like a fairy tale, and we both know those aren't real." "Maybe not, but good stories are, and honey, yours is already legendary. Drunk girl bites billionaire, proposes with ring pop, tries to flee to Hawaii, and he still wants her. That's romance novel gold. My life is not a romance novel. It kind of is, though. Speaking of which, did he do the thing with his thumb again?" "What thing?" "You know, the thing where he traces little circles on your skin and your brain short circuits." Emma groaned. "How did you know about that?" "Because you told me, in detail. Last night when I called to check on you." "I don't remember that." "You also don't remember FaceTiming me from his bathroom to show me his marble countertops, but that happened too." Emma sat bolt upright. "I did what?" "Yeah, you were very impressed by his shower. Said it had more jets than a plane. Please tell me you're joking." "I have screenshots." Emma fell back on the bed, mortification complete. "I'm never drinking again." "Don't be dramatic. Your drunk self is iconic. She's who got you into this beautiful mess." Chloe paused. "So Saturday, huh? The wedding from hell? It's not that bad." The bride changed her color scheme 3 times. The mothers-in-law hate each other. And the groom's ex is a bridesmaid. Which is exactly why I need backup. Emma stared at her ceiling, water stains and all. Think he can handle it? A man who handles billion-dollar deals can probably handle some wedding drama. Plus, everyone will be so distracted by your hot date, they might actually behave. Or they'll be worse because they're trying to impress him. Either way, it'll be entertaining. Chloe yawned. I need to sleep, but I expect hourly updates on Saturday. And wear that black dress with the slit. I can't wear that to work. You can if you're trying to make a billionaire lose his mind. Trust me. After Chloe hung up, Emma finally changed out of her dress, hanging it carefully in her closet next to her work clothes. The contrast was stark, sensible suits and professional dresses next to the one piece of clothing she'd bought specifically to catch a man's attention. Her phone buzzed with one final text from Dante. Sweet dreams, Emma. Try not to bite any pillows. She laughed, typing back. No promises. They're very biteable. Now I'm jealous of pillows. This is what you've reduced me to. Emma plugged in her phone and curled up in bed, touching the fading mark on her neck. In less than 48 hours, her entire world had tilted on its axis. She should be terrified. Should be building walls and making lists of why this would never work. Instead, she fell asleep smiling, dreaming of brown eyes and dangerous kisses. The week passed in a blur of work and increasingly flirty text exchanges. Dante sent her photos from board meetings with captions like, "Would rather be getting bitten," and "This spreadsheet has nothing on your tiramisu face." Emma found herself checking her phone constantly, smiling at his messages like a lovesick teenager. Wednesday brought a delivery to her office. A small box with her missing earring and a note. Returning the hostage as promised, though I'm keeping the bite mark. D, her assistant, Marcus, peered over her shoulder. Who's D? No one, Emma said quickly, but her burning face gave her away. Oh my God, you're seeing someone. Marcus practically vibrated with excitement. Tell me everything. There's nothing to tell. That hickey you've been trying to hide all week says otherwise. Emma's hand flew to her neck, where concealer had apparently failed to do its job. It's not what it looks like. It looks like someone marked their territory. Good for them. Marcus grinned. Is he hot? Emma thought about Dante's abs, his hands, that smile that made her forget her own name. He's acceptable. Your face says he's more than acceptable. What's his name? Dante, she admitted, then immediately regretted it when Marcus grabbed his phone. Dante what? I need to do a social media deep dive. It's best friend privilege. Emma snatched his phone. No deep dives. No social media stalking. It's new and complicated, and I don't want to jinx it. Fine, but I want details eventually. And I better be invited to the wedding. We've been on one date, and he's already marking you up like you're his favorite possession. That man is gone for you. Marcus waggled his eyebrows. So when do I meet him? Saturday. He's coming to the Patel-Morrison wedding. Marcus's jaw dropped. You're bringing him to the wedding from hell? Are you trying to scare him off? He insisted. Emma fidgeted with the returned earring. Said he wanted to see me in my element. Your element is barely controlled chaos with a side of family drama. Exactly. If he survives Saturday, he can handle anything. Friday night found Emma in full wedding prep mode, surrounded by seating charts, vendor contracts, and an emergency kit that could stock a small hospital. Her phone rang, Dante's name lighting up the screen. Shouldn't you be asleep? He asked when she answered. Big day tomorrow. Can't sleep. Too busy having nightmares about the mother of the bride and mother of the groom getting into a fistfight over the centerpieces. Has that actually happened? Once. I had to separate them with a unity candle. Emma rubbed her eyes. Why are you awake? Board meeting ran late. Hostile takeover, very dramatic. Nothing compared to wedding planning, I'm sure. At least in business, people pretend to be civilized. You haven't been to enough board meetings. She could hear his smile through the phone. What should I wear tomorrow? A suit, but not too fancy. You can't upstage the groom. What if I can't help it? Natural magnetism and all that. Then I'll have to bite you to put you in your place. Promise? His voice dropped to that dangerous register. Because I've been very good all week. No surprise visits. No inappropriate texts after midnight. I think I deserve a reward. Heat pooled in Emma's stomach. Your reward is getting to watch me wrangle drunk relatives and mediate passive-aggressive toast battles. Sounds thrilling. What time should I pick you up? I'll be at the venue by 10. Ceremony starts at 4. You can come whenever. But fair warning, if you show up early, I'll put you to work. I'm surprisingly good at manual labor. Can you tie bows? I can learn. Emma smiled, some of her anxiety easing. Then you're hired. See you tomorrow, Castellano. Good night, Martinez. Dream of me. In your dreams. Every night this week, he said softly, then hung up before she could respond. Emma stared at her phone, butterflies rioting in her stomach. Tomorrow would be interesting. Cuatro dawned bright and humid. Typical Miami weather that would wreak havoc on hairstyles and makeup. Emma arrived at the Biltmore at 9:30, armed with her emergency kit and enough caffeine to fuel a small army. The venue was stunning, all Mediterranean revival architecture and manicured gardens. It was also a powder keg waiting to explode. The bride, Priya, was already in tears over her missing dupatta. The groom, James, was hiding from his ex-girlfriend turned bridesmaid. And both mothers were engaged in a cold war over the placement of the gift table. Emma dove into crisis management mode, locating the missing dupatta, in the groom's suite, don't ask, mediating between the mothers, compromise, 2 gift tables, and assigning Marcus to keep the ex away from the bar until after the ceremony. She was so focused on putting out fires that she didn't notice Dante until he cleared his throat behind her. Put me to work, boss. Emma spun around and immediately regretted every life choice that had led to this moment. He looked unfairly good in a charcoal suit, the jacket discarded and sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that had no business being that attractive. You're early, she managed. You said you'd need help. He held up a bag. I brought supplies. Marcus sent me a list. Emma peered into the bag. Bobby pins, safety pins, stain remover, antacids, and mini bottles of champagne. You brought emergency champagne? For the coordinator, not the guests. Marcus said you'd need it by noon. Marcus is getting a raise. Emma grabbed the bag gratefully. Okay, first task. The ceremony programs are in boxes by the chapel entrance. They need to be fanned out on each chair, alternating the Hindi and English versions. On it. He started to leave, then turned back. You look beautiful, by the way. Very professional. Emma glanced down at her simple black dress, the one with the slit Chloe had recommended, paired with comfortable heels. This is my blend-into-the-background outfit. Trust me, you're not blending anywhere. His eyes lingered on the slit that showed a flash of leg when she moved. That dress is criminal. Go do your job before I find something heavier for you to lift. He grinned and headed off, leaving Emma trying to remember what she'd been doing before he scrambled her brain. The next 2 hours flew by in controlled chaos. True to his word, Dante threw himself into whatever task she assigned, arranging programs, helping the florist with last-minute adjustments, even calming down a flower girl who'd decided she hated her dress. You're good with kids, Emma observed, watching him convince little Aisha that her dress was actually a princess gown in disguise. I have a niece, same age, same strong opinions about fashion. He stood, dusting off his knees. What's next? Before Emma could answer, a shrill voice cut through the air. Absolutely not. The programs were Supposed to be ivory, not white. The mother of the bride had arrived. Emma plastered on her professional smile and intercepted Mrs. Patel before she could storm the chapel. The programs are ivory, Mrs. Patel. The lighting in here just makes them appear brighter. Don't gaslight me, young woman. I know white when I see it. Dante stepped forward smoothly, placing his hand on Emma's lower back. Mrs. Patel, these programs are absolutely perfect. The ivory shade you selected complements the gold embossing beautifully. Mrs. Patel beamed, crisis instantly forgotten. Oh, well, yes. I did spend hours choosing the exact right shade. Emma shot him a grateful look as Mrs. Patel bustled away, satisfied. Around them, the venue hummed with anticipation. Flowers perfect, guests seated, love in the air. My hero, she murmured. Always, Dante replied, pressing a kiss to her temple. Now go work your magic. I'll be right here when you need me. And he was. Through every moment of the beautiful chaos, catching her eye during the vows, steadying her with a touch when things got hectic, celebrating with champagne when Priya and James finally kissed as husband and wife. As the reception wound down and the last guests departed under a canopy of stars, Emma finally let herself relax. She kicked off her heels and sat on the terrace steps, watching cleanup crews work their magic. You did it, Dante said, settling beside her. Another perfect wedding. We did it, she corrected, leaning into his warmth. Couldn't have managed without my assistant. Assistant? I prefer co-conspirator. He pulled her closer. Or maybe future husband. That has a nice ring to it. Emma laughed, thinking of that first wild night. Still got any ring pops? Actually, Dante shifted, pulling something from his pocket. I've been carrying this around all week, waiting for the right moment. It wasn't a ring pop. It was a simple silver band with a single pearl. Elegant, unique, perfect. It's not an engagement ring, he said quickly. Just a promise that this is real, that I'm not going anywhere, that every day with you is better than the last. Emma stared at the ring, then at him, this beautiful, ridiculous man who'd turned her world upside down in the best possible way. You know I'm going to bite you again, right? She said, tears pricking her eyes. I'm counting on it, he grinned, sliding the ring onto her finger. For the rest of our lives. She kissed him under the Miami stars, tasting forever on his lips. Somewhere in the distance, the ocean waves rolled on, witnesses to a love story that started with tequila and a bite, and ended with a promise that this was just the beginning. What did you think of their story? Share your thoughts in the comments on a scale from 0 to 10. What's your rating? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories, and check out more emotional stories by clicking on the end screen.